Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar. This month we're going to be looking at how a good CRM CMS platform augmented with AI can do a great deal to help you scale your operations, scale your productivity, but without adding to headcount. So if that's the event you're after, then you're in the right place. So if I can just make some introductions, all five of us will be presenting various parts today. Chris and Jeremy and I all work for Smart Impact. Alan is an independent non-profit consultant who helps us a lot with our webinars and has got a lot of wide experience in the industry going back a long time. But I'm also delighted to welcome Darren Tyso, who's the Chief Digital Officer at the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons. He'll be here giving us some insights into the digital transformation he's undertaking, which is CRM, CMS, and AI all at the same time. So there's going to be a lot of interesting information in that interview. So what we're going to do, hear from Alan, some introductions around the issues and some potential solutions. Then there's a conversation between Jeremy and Darren, which will be all about the project and CRM, AI, CMS in general. I'll then do some explanations of some of the other projects we've done to give you some ideas of what they do and the benefits that those customers have got out of CRM and AI. And then we'll turn to Chris, who'll be looking at a couple of aspects of some of the work that we've done and the sort of things that you can achieve. And then we move on to Q&A. So with that, I'd like to hand over to Alan and we'll start the presentation.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Steve. Good morning, everybody. Alan Reed. I've been working as an independent consultant to the membership space since the 1990s. Of course, there's a lot of really fantastic, exciting things going on with AI at the moment, and that's the flavor of most projects. There's a tendency, though, to forget the basics. And now that we're 3 years into AI-themed projects, there are some lessons learned about how you should go about things, how you should approach it. So let's talk about the state of the nation, if you like, when it comes to the membership world. The first thing is, let's take a little bit of a glance into the next few years. It's not too hard at the moment to see some of these things. It's a bit like holding up an iPhone and saying, you know what, I think these things are going to really catch on. So the first thing that's becoming clear is that membership organizations are increasingly going to have their own GPTs. So that's a generative training environment that gives its own prompts and responses for you. So membership organizations are perfectly suited to have AI generated content. And what we're going to see increasingly, we're already seeing it, is that everything like marketing content, member generated or member facing content to appeal to members in different spaces will be AI assisted. People will be using AI to be generating that. But also things like, okay, let's enhance our CPD framework. Let's come up with our competencies and developments for that. Let's come up with our next suite of exam questions. Let's come up with our next suite of learning content. AI will be used and is being used to generate all of that content, with a human being much more of a curator and a quality checker and a completer. Also, what's been clear for many years is that membership organizations are perfectly suited to automation. You'll never find yourself in a membership organization, or incredibly rarely, crafting a personalized email to someone. Everything is rule-based. Everything is done in bulk, in batches, or mass. So whether it's confirmations of event bookings, or invitations to survey after an event, or renewals, or debt chasing for non-payment, or you're doing really well on your CPD, or you're not doing so well on your CPD, it's all rule-based. It lends itself to automation. So that's becoming cheaper, quicker, more sophisticated, more nuanced with AI. And so the take-up is higher than ever, and the output is better and easier to achieve. Essentially, AI agents are going to be things that you're going to be tuning, managing, nurturing, just like a team member, that are going to be constantly reviewed and improved all of the way through. This is the new world, and this is already starting in a number of membership organizations. So what we're also seeing, of course, is that members themselves, and many of us are members of organizations ourselves, are increasingly modern digital consumers. So expectations are getting higher. One of the changes we'll see is that as people get used to doing things on your website, for instance, they're getting used to more personalized content that is going to actually help you get what you want out of your website, find what it is, do the next thing that shows the value of the membership relationship. All of that is going to get more nuanced, more personalized, and easier for the membership organization to achieve. Those that don't make the effort will be quickly found out by and judged by their members. So having said all of that, it all sounds great, etc. But there are some really common challenges. As I go around surveying and talking to different membership organizations, most are still saying the same things they were saying in the year 2000 in these two areas. Firstly, that there isn't enough money for technology development. And secondly, that everyone's too flat out and busy to really embrace change and have these benefits reflected in the organization. Now, the good news for that is that this kind of automation and sophistication is now less expensive than it's ever been for membership organizations. So there are some real, and the benefits are higher than ever. But it still costs money, and of course that's still at a premium. And the other benefit is that these things are easier to deploy than ever, and are taking over more of the manual work, leaving people to do only the things that people can do, and to do it to a higher quality. So what we're seeing is that people are still saying, yes, we're still struggling with the basics. Our website is not talking to the CRM properly. We're still not having access to our own data. And the lesson that we're seeing now coming out in 25, going into 26, is that whilst AI can improve a lot of your gaps, you can't use it as a sticking plaster. You still have to resolve those underlying issues of having a properly integrated, properly founded system that is connected to all of your engagement channels, like your website, your comms. Okay, so essentially, whilst AI will improve some of your gaps, you can't just slap it on and expect it to resolve the foundations if they're not there. If your systems aren't integrated and your data is dispersed all over the place, you're still not going to get the optimum benefit out of your systems and engagement. So what we then find is that modern projects in 2025 start in two key situations. The first one is where they're still having problems with disconnected websites and CRM, with specialist systems that are not talking to each other for things like CPD and exams and LMSs and so on. And then what we find with that is that in order to get the optimum benefit out of modern technology, you need to address those foundations. You need to get those working as well. You can get some improvements from AI right away, but actually you're just kicking the can down the road. You'll still need to get those foundations sorted out. Other projects are where the technology is in place, it is reliable, the information is reportable. Then you can get the AI features to really sing and dance and really make that transformative difference for you. So how do you scale without adding headcount? The key thing is to find a supplier who's done this lots of times before, can do the foundations, and has a really sophisticated view of AI. I think I don't mind paying a compliment to Smart Impact here. You've got the AI focus group here. You're into your second and third generation of AI-based projects for membership organizations. And I think those kind of things make a difference. But what you've got to have at the beginning of all of that is that foundation of your systems being integrated, your data in one place, properly reportable, properly accessible by your colleagues. Then you can get into the third step of really embracing AI and making it a genuine transformation for you and your members. Okay, so I will then let's do a quick poll, if we may, and then I'm going to hand over from there. So given all of that, and I hope you were able to see the slides for those that could, can we just ask, Chris, if you don't mind putting the poll on the screen, what do you think your organization's biggest challenge right now? If you would just mind being very open about what the biggest challenges you see right now happening. And then is it your budget? you haven't got the capacity, the bandwidth, the resource. You're still having problems with your data. Or maybe it's number four, your core tech is good, but you don't know how to get started with AI. So Chris, if you can just stop the feedback after a few seconds. And Chris, do you mind giving a verbal summary of what people are responding on the poll as well, please?
Yeah, sure. So at the moment, it's looking like bandwidth seems to be the main problem. It was a bit neck and neck between data and bandwidth for a moment, but bandwidth seems to have pulled into the lead.
Right. So the same classic problems that have existed in membership organizations since the 2000s and probably before. So the real challenge then is finding a partner that you can use, a supplier that is going to help you with your bandwidth, that can add value, really knows the projects and the type of challenges you're having, and can take a lot of the work off of you, and is not sitting there waiting for you to tell them every single thing to do. Great, thank you so much for that. Thanks for feeding back on the poll. I'm going to hand over to Jeremy and for the conversation with Darren. Thanks so much, Jeremy and Darren.
Thank you very much, Alan. Can I just confirm that my slides are coming through?
Looks good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Good morning, everybody. My name's Jeremy Jaley, and I'm Business Development Lead here at Smart Impact. I am absolutely delighted to be joined by our guest this morning, Darren Tyso, who is the Chief Digital Officer at RCVS, the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons, who are the professional body and regulator for vets in the UK. Darren, it's fantastic to have you with us. Would you like to say a few words of introduction?
That's quite a warm up, Jeremy. I hope I can live up to the expectations. Yeah, I've been here 4 years now, just coming up to 4 years. As you said, we're the regulator for the vets and vet nurses that are up and down the country. We also go into the universities that deliver the veterinary programs, bit like Ofsted for those universities. And of course, we deal with disciplinary cases as well. So we're both a regulator and the Royal College, so we have kind of two arms to what we do.
And just for a sort of sense of scale, how many members, Darren, are you supporting?
So across the veterinary nurses and the veterinary surgeons, so the kind of two main membership groups, we're around 60,000 members.
Wow. Okay. So a large membership base that you need to keep pretty regularly engaged and informed about what's going on. Darren, RCVS and Smart Impact are at the beginning of a very exciting AI journey together because you've recently selected us to implement our smart AI assistants at the college. And as Steve said at the beginning, we're also working with you in parallel to implement a new CRM and membership system at the college. And I believe there's a strong belief that an AI strategy and a data strategy go hand in hand, because by having high quality data about how your stakeholders and members are interacting with you, you're equipping yourself to get the most out of the AI tools that you use and invest in. So with this in mind, can you share the vision behind RCVS's decision to adopt AI and how it aligns with your long-term strategic goals?
Absolutely. It was interesting seeing Alan's slide earlier with those key kind of pillars that need to be in place. So when I look at my role, I kind of look at three main audiences. There's our members that pay our subscriptions, that keep us all in our jobs. So what can we do to support them? And of course, they're vets and vet surgeons. So unlike some of the audience here, they have to pay the subscriptions. So it's really about value add for those services as far as we're concerned. What's our role as a regulator as well in supporting the profession in their use of AI? And that was sort of very much at the forefront. And of course, our staff, how can we use AI to support staff? So when I joined, we had a legacy CRM, which and as Alan was talking about earlier, did not talk to other systems. There's quite a lot of rekeying of data going on. So disparate systems, not necessarily well connected, or they were cumbersome. So I was looking really for a solution that would put all the data in one place. I'm sure, like many people here, we've got lots of data, we just can't get hold of it, or we can't really make any sense of it. And of course, depending on what question you asked, perhaps you've got a different answer depending on what system the data is held in the first place. So really, for me, I think a new CRM, and I think you mentioned we're also going through a new website project at the same time. So that would be a new portal. We thought now is absolutely the right time to put all the data in one place, so we can then build AI on top of that. But just in terms of order, I was very clear in my mind that we can't do anything until we've got a system that, albeit not necessarily all one system, it's all on the Microsoft platform, but it's all interconnected. We can't do anything to do with AI until we've got that, because frankly, it would just fall flat on its face. And I was really keen, we've done that first. So that was our vision and our strategy. So really, data first, single platform, interconnected where it's not one platform, and build AI on top to support our membership, to support our staff, and to some extent our role as a regulator to really take a lead with the profession as well.
Yeah, okay, so it's sort of about getting the foundations in place so that you can really maximize the technology. So obviously you're immersed in AI adoption right now. What are the key areas where you're piloting AI tools, and what early feedback have you received from colleagues, from members, from other stakeholders?
Yes, so the strand we're using at the moment, because of course we're still going through the CRM implementation, is very much about how we can use AI to support staff internally. So as I'm sure we will hear later as well, it's very much about assistance, about how we can support staff do what they're doing now, but do it smarter, do it better, do it more quickly. So we looked for some volunteers, genuine volunteers. They weren't necessarily arm twisted. We asked them, you're using it. We almost gave an amnesty to say, we know you're using AI. How can we do it perhaps a bit more smartly? So we've got about just over 20 staff across the organisation, and they're using it for different themes. So we try to keep it thematic. So we've got some people from our committee section using it for kind of minuting, for digesting larger meetings. For our research teams, we do a lot of research as part of our organisation to help our profession understand what the latest is. So we're using it there. My team are using it in digital to support some of their processes. And indeed, I was quite keen to get the senior team on board. So we've got 4 people from our senior leadership people as well, just to make sure that, dare I say, they're talking about it at board meetings as well. So I wanted to make sure there are conversations happening up and down the organisation. So a good range across the organisation.
Yeah, it does. It sounds like quite a few people being touched, and interesting to hear that you sort of asked for those volunteers and got people to put their hand up, and particularly in the context that a lot of people are already using AI, right? They're using it at home, they're using it sometimes at work in a sort of ungoverned way. And one of the things we found at Smart Impact, both in our work with clients, so hearing that kind of feedback, but also working with partners like Microsoft, who are at the sort of leading edge of this kind of technology, is that there is a lot of focus on ensuring that AI adoption is undertaken safely and compliantly. And obviously, because RCVS are a regulator, it's obviously particularly important for you to set a good example to both the profession and industry. So how are you approaching the ethical and sort of regulatory considerations around using AI?
I want to cast my mind back. I think it was about a year ago. I'm looking at Chris and Steve. They came along to one of our staff away days, and I think it might have been Steve or possibly me. I asked the question, "How many of you are using AI today?" And there was very, very tentative. I mean, literally, people were very reluctant to put their hand up and kind of fess up to the fact that they're using it, perhaps unofficially, perhaps unauthorized. And really, I wanted to make sure that we set a framework. We say it's okay to use AI in a planned and structured way. So really, shortly after that, we put together two key documents, and we consulted on that. So very much an AI policy, really about broadly speaking, what you can and can't do within the organisation, and we set some guardrails around that. And then on top of that, we've added more of a kind of a guide, just to say, here's a tool set you're okay to use. And the idea being the policy would be the framework, and the guide will change from time to time as we introduce new technology. As I'm sure many other people here have, we have quite a range of committees internally. So we made sure we went through our audit and risk teams so they understood some of that, because we're all worried about data, leaking, being in the wrong place. No one wants to be on top in the news headlines for the wrong reasons, of course. So we made sure we've got cover from our key committees as well as internally. So never say never, but we did make sure that we addressed some of those, and we got some help from Smart Impact as well, just to help us with some of the templates around some of the ethics. We did some workshops internally just to make sure people understand what bias is, how it can creep in, that kind of thing. So we've done things on both the policy framework, some guidance, and we've done some workshops internally as well, just really to give people more confidence that it's okay. In certain contexts, as long as you're not daft, it's a pretty safe environment to work in.
Did you encounter any resistance as you were going through that process? And if you did, how did you sort of overcome it?
Yeah, we absolutely did, particularly around the two sides really. If no one's going to do this, but if I were minded to cut and paste sensitive data and put it into say Copilot or put it into ChatGPT, just understanding what the difference is there. So it was really about user education, making sure we understood what the SLAs are around that. But also the other key concern was around fear. Fear from some of my senior team colleagues, but fear for their colleagues, saying, I'm using some of these tools which appear to be taking away some of my role. What's the future going to hold for me? And if we go down this road, how are we going to reassure staff that us sit at this certain level in the organisation don't have a hidden agenda to get rid of jobs? And that certainly is not the case. Our mantra, certainly my mantra, which is shared across the senior team, is these tools are not going to go away. People coming into the organisation now will expect to use them. And in terms of recruitment and selection, if we don't hire staff that have these tools, we will lose them because they will get bored because we're not investing in this technology. So it's really about selling the benefits and acknowledging the pitfalls, and it seems to have worked thus far.
So at the same time as addressing those concerns, what have you been doing to ensure that staff and stakeholders are well supported throughout the AI adoption journey, Darren?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there was it's been tricky. I'm not going to lie. It's been tricky in terms of because some of the Google Gemini tools, for example, that are out there. So I'm sure other organisations have it as well. We have a very lengthy code of conduct, which all our members have to adhere to. I'm sure that's similar across there. Now you can get an AI to digest that document and essentially ask it questions, and it will come up with quite plausible kind of research based on that document. And we've got a whole team that give advice here. People ring up and ask for advice around that core document. So how could we reassure them? But we just flipped it. Suddenly you save yourself 10 minutes, because rather than looking for which paragraph, which section, we can have a conversation about that as opposed to just quoting verbatim. And of course, certainly once we've got the CRM in place, Jeremy, is very much going to be about how we can make, with the right reassurances, make that technology available on our website. Is something we really are quite reassured about. But it's just also around me and others in the group regularly reporting back on progress. So it's not this thing that's happening over there. We're sharing some of the lessons learned across the organisation.
Communication and quick wins always particularly
Absolutely
important in change initiatives, Darren. So look, finally, it sounds super exciting. It sounds like you're doing a lot. It sounds like it's a pretty big initiative. What does success look like for RCVS in the next 12 to 18 months in terms of AI? And are there any milestones or outcomes you're particularly excited about?
Yeah, as I said, most of the effort internally on AI has been around staff. What I want to be focusing far more on is, once we've got the CRM fully embedded, the new website that we're expecting to come online early next year, and the interconnections, is very much around the benefit to members in terms of easier processing in terms of sign up, making sure that's guided far more information available at the fingertips, because at the moment members are ringing individual departments. So really about harnessing that, bringing that data up, so people can self-serve, or at least have access to that far more readily than they currently can do now. So really, I'm expecting quite an uptick in use of that data, and dare I say, in a seamless way. Partly understated. People kind of expect it. The data is there. Why can't I get hold of it? So perhaps members that have used previous systems will see a change. New members that haven't seen anything else would expect it anyway. So it's really about meeting those expectations as well.
So it sounds like some sort of quantity orientated improvements and some quality orientated improvements, and obviously that focus on the member experience, which is so important. Darren, look, thank you so much for coming and joining us this morning to share your experience. It's fantastic to see you and to chat. I need to hand over to Steve, but massively appreciate it, and catch you very soon.
So thank you. Can I just check everyone can see my slide that says helping clients scale without adding headcount?
All good.
Good. Okay, lovely. The technology is working. So look, Jeremy and Darren, thanks very much for that. That was very helpful and insightful. Yeah, I remember the very first launch that Darren was talking about, where we did ask for volunteers, and actually there was a lot of positivity from people who had originally told us they knew nothing about AI, and within 20 minutes they're telling us about all the different use cases that they've already got in place. So yeah, be aware in your own organizations, there'll be lots of people using it. As per the chat, I think the important thing is to try and get it out in the open. If you policy it out and allow people to use their own version of, say, the free ChatGPT, it's not secure. You need the proper enterprise level team versions of ChatGPT or Copilot or whatever, and then that means that you'll have the security that you want. So anyway, what I'm going to talk about now is a couple of examples of other organizations that we've worked with, and then we'll move over to Chris and we'll have a look at some of the technology. So firstly, part of the survey was about part of the feedback was about data preparation and bandwidth. So what we want to do is walk through how we help our customers with that. But the first thing to look at is really where our AI tools can help across the organization. So your CRM system and CMS and events and LMS and exams obviously needs good data in it, but it doesn't have to be perfect. So data shouldn't be an obstacle to all AI. It just affects those parts of where you want the use cases you want to use data in, but a lot of what we do actually, it doesn't rely on driving the data out of CRM. Lots of applications can work outside that. And here's an example on the screen of lots of different areas of a typical membership organization or trades union where AI can help you in specific situations. So we'll cover a little bit of this in my next 5 minutes. So I'm going to give 2 examples of customers we've been working with for over 2 years now in AI. The first is general cross-departmental AI, and this has been done in a number of organizations. This is what we're doing with Darren as well at RCVS, but it's using a whole suite of tools we've built in ChatGPT team. So it's about the Fire Industry Association, and their challenges in 23 were particularly apt for this presentation. The board set a challenge, which was, look, we know we're technologically lagging, but we want to grow headcount by 25%. Sorry, we want to grow performance by 25% without any extra headcount. That was the challenge that the board gave to the general manager and the staff. They were technologically lagging. They'd been using good software for a long time. We first put their system in 2012, but it hadn't had a lot of investment in the previous 5 years. So there was an overhaul there, limited budget, no requirement to headcount growth. And what we did is we built over 50 AI assistants for various departments, all in ChatGPT team, and that covers multiple different departments. So all of these people were trained up and knowing exactly how to use these assistants, and they're there assisting them day by day. So some great results by basically doing a lot of productivity or automating repetitive tasks and so on. But you can see this covers a whole area, a whole spread of the organization. And the key thing is, hardly any of this actually needs to access the direct data out of finance or CRM or website. It's just general productivity tools. Some of them do access that data, and it makes them better. And the better the data, the better those particular assistants. But the vast majority of these don't rely on great data. So that shouldn't be an obstacle for you to start to consider rolling out this type of AI support. So what did we result the results of this? So the project, basically was already starting to be in place within a few months. But we started in 23. By 2024, FIA had grown their annual revenue by well, actually well over 25%. But they calculated that they saved across their organization, which was about 25 staff at the time, they saved something like 1,500 days a year, which they put at a value of about 800K. So this was a massive return on investment as well as productivity growth. But the key thing is they made a lot of their revenue out of training, and they were able to raise that by nearly 27% simply by having tools that help them do much better marketing, much better targeting, producing and revamping training documents, which used to take about a month. They could do it in 4 days using the tools that we've got. And that's resulted in a good membership growth as well, both in business and in individual members. So it's a very, very good case study, and you can read that if you scan that little QR code that's in the bottom right corner. The next one. This is different. This is not a general department by department AI. This is a specific use case that was built for a particular problem. And we've done this in a number of places, and it runs more like a normal computer project. The organization we've done it for has been a long-term customer. Because this gives them excellent competitive advantage, we don't publicize their name at their request, but they're in the healthcare area. And what they do is a lot of training and courses and so on. And organizations can also send in certificates they've got from approved suppliers to say, look, I've actually got this level already. Can you add that to my record? So they get about 4,000 certificates sent in every month. And that takes a lot of scrutiny because they're all different formats. They've got to be worked out. Are they then from the right approved suppliers? Are they of the right quality? And that's the process that goes through triaging before the certificate's approved. So it's a hard job that was done by people that spent all their time doing it, and obviously it's very repetitive. There's risk of burnout and so on. So we automated the whole process using a specific AI tools and workflow, and the results of that are, well, what it does is it gets documents in via email. They're then put into the system. It works out and extracts the key information from the certificate, then works out whether that's the right people from the right place at the right level with the right dates and so on and so on. And they are then able to either just approve up to 80% of them, which means that the staff that were originally handling 4,000 a month now only have to focus on something like 800 to 600 of the more complex ones or the edge cases. So it's much more productive. And also, although the staff are very good, it's also very, very accurate. So it can read all of the different formats and then approve the people. And the results out of that are that the error levels have gone down a lot, and they are very reliably always at the same level. But because it can handle 80% of the cases, the staff can then, as I say, focus on the more should we say, valuable and interesting areas. But it's made a big difference to staff morale as well. And we found this in FIA. People were they were basically spending a lot of their time on repetitive tasks or tasks that they knew could be automated. Because AI has done that, it does a lot for AI. It does a lot for staff morale. It does a lot for job satisfaction and so on. And in the case of the certificate system we've just been talking about, it took about 6 months to train up the AI till it got to the levels that we wanted, and then improve and improve and improve. And that's actually almost identical to the amount of time it took to train a human on it. So that's another good point example where, if the specific use case, we built a specific task that can do this, but this can work in lots of other areas. It can work in CPD approvals, it can work in invoice handling and so on and so on. So it's got quite a lot of capability there. So very quickly, what else do we do in these projects to help our customers scale? So I'll spend only 30 seconds on this or so, and I'll give you some tools in a minute. But the first is capability. So that's preparation of your CRM, CMS, event systems, integrating them where possible, and getting the data as good as it can be. So that's capability of system preparation, but also using our tools. We don't only provide the AI tools and assistance, we train your people so that they are experts in prompt engineering, writing reliable systems, so therefore they become very autonomous. And I think that's a very, very key area of this, because our tools get people started very quickly with lots and lots of assistance, but we want our customers to be able to improve those themselves with their own knowledge. So we want them to be as capable as possible in AI. We also help look at capacity. So there are a lot of different use cases where things are repetitive, or they're just quite complex, so we can automate and improve a lot of those processes. And that obviously leads to productivity gains that we've just been mentioning in those other case studies. So some tools you might want to take advantage of, and I'll put some of these on at the end as well. But if you scan that QR code, you'll be able to download a lot of different tools, some of which Darren was alluding to earlier. But we've got what we call a cheat sheet, which is lots of different use cases that AI can be used in. We've got policies, we've got user guides. There's a lot of preparation, internal surveys where staff can say, I think these are areas that I could put forwards as good areas to put AI in. So scan that and you'll be able to go straight to there. And then we've got the wider resources here as well. And also, if you want to talk to any of us in particular, then by scanning that QR code, you'll be able to book a short meeting with some of our staff. So I'll put these at the end as well for those of you that haven't been able to get the links. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Chris, and we're going to have a look at a couple of areas that AI is improving scalability.
Thanks, Steve. Would you mind skipping over to the next slide just for the overview? Thanks a lot. So I'm going to take you through 2 demos in a second, and they'll go through certain use cases, but I think it's better to think of them as 2 different paradigms. So one being AI and humans working together to resolve issues or give our members benefits. And then the second scenario will be more automation. So with AI, our CRM system. So we can have publicly available AI, so things like web bots that your members can chat to, but when they need that human to be able to bring that information into CRM, you know, your membership team to manage that. That's a really important process to do. AI knows that. The next option we want to have a look at is kind of full automation of AI. So again, let's have a website chat assistant or chat. Let your members work with that to manage their membership queries, manage their membership benefits, but then all of the processes that need to happen in CRM to support that. So things like enrolling them in events or upgrading membership packages and communication, let that all be automated within CRM. So I'm going to share my screen. If I could just see a thumbs up or 2 if you're able to see my screen. Hopefully you can. Cool. So we're going to look at the first one. So it's going to be our public website where people can chat on a chatbot and then pick this up within CRM as well. So I'm on my website at the moment. Down on the right hand side, you can see this little Let's Chat assistant. If we click that, it's going to open up and we're going to be able to have a chat with one of our agents. So I'm going to ask something like, let's say, what is smart AI as an example. Now, this assistant is actually quite open in terms of what it needs to do. It's just going to go out, read some documents and just output information. But if I move over to CRM, we can see that this chat has now appeared within my CRM system. So I'm now within Dynamics 365 in the customer service area. So this is where we'd manage our case management and things like that. And we can see that that chat's now active. We can see their sentiment and things like that. If I go back to the chat, and if you think about things like what are the different membership website, I can then go a little bit back and forth, but just to save some time, I'm going to say, can I speak to a human? And then should then be a chat with our space. So when we see the chat now popped up, I can extend, and I can now start that conversation. I can see all the history that's been associated with that conversation, and I can manage it from within CRM. So now we can see on the left-hand side, we have the full conversation that's been happening. We can see the summary of that. I'm going to say at times, so I'm going to do all the back and forth, but if I had to ask us, let's say they can identify themselves or who am I talking to, and once I know who that is, I can then link that to my contact record within CRM. If this is going to be a more ongoing issue that I'm going to need to resolve, I can create a case associated to that as well, and I can manage that as an ongoing thing. So if you think about something like maybe they want to process a refund, it's not something that I'm want to do or be able to do, to create cases so that I can manage that going forward as well. I now have all the information. So this entire chat is going to be linked to my contact record within CRM, and I can ask it questions and get my resolutions around that. Let's say that I know this person is wanting to know about marketing and how smart AI can assist me with marketing. In the corner, I can go over to my Copilot now. This is living within Dynamics 365. This is the Copilot that you might have seen before. And as a membership support team, I can then ask something like, how can smart AI help with marketing, as an example? And then Copilot can go out and try and answer those questions for me. So as I'm dealing with different support cases and trying to help my member do things, I'm able to put out all of that information. If I look over to where those sources came from, it's come from my own knowledge articles. So the more I help individuals, the more knowledge articles I can build, and we can manage all of that AI process and human interactions from within Dynamics. We just say hi, so we see that that's then popped back up into my chat. So we see that conversation's working quite well. So just to summarize that, it's really easy for us to build kind of an open chatbot that your members can then use. And then as we need to link it back into CRM, we can link it to their contact record, create the cases and manage that process in a more controlled way. And also very importantly, start to gather data associated with that. But what if we want to do the other route where we maybe don't need humans to be in the loop, or at the moment we don't have to take that on. So we want to be able to give our members a more self-service approach to interacting with the AI. So for that, what I'm going to do is actually go into the back end. So this is the engine room of where we would set up one of these agents. And for this particular agent, this is going to be something that sits maybe inside your portal. So we already know some basic information. There's already been an authentication process that goes on so that we know that we're talking to Abigail. We know what their membership grade is, and there's Abigail's record within my CRM. So we can surface some of this basic information like the membership grade, how long they've been a member for, CPD points earned, etc. But unlike the previous one where we had very open-ended conversations where we just ask a question and then generatively it would come up with the answers, here we're going to be more descriptive. So we're going to say, what do you want in my membership, my CPD, etc. And if I say something like, we're then able to tailor the AI assistant to answer in certain ways and follow a certain process. So if somebody clicks on my membership, we can see as they're going to branch off and ask, well, do you want to change your membership grade? Do you want to find out more about different membership grades and things like that? So let's just say that we want to change my membership grade. That's then go down a separate path that's going to allow them to upgrade my membership or downgrade my membership. For time, I'm not going to go down the downgrade my membership route, but if we wanted to, I'm going to tell the person, we're going to add a little bit of friction in that process. We don't necessarily want them to downgrade online, so we're going to say, you know what, we can't downgrade by the portal, but we can reach out to support. This little icon is the database that runs CRM, but we're going to flag that contact over there and make them at risk. But we are going to flag them inside CRM so we can do something with that information. But it's a very different story if you want membership. I'm very happy to process that. So if we say I'm going to upgrade my membership, well, that's really great to hear. Do you know which membership grade you want to move to? And if you do, then we can just go ahead and upgrade that. But if I say no, I want to find out a bit more about the different membership grades, from here we can start to then pull in a little bit find out what to them, and they click on that. This is now going to read a little bit of our knowledge base articles. So it's going to take the context of what they are, so we know they're a platinum member, and then it's going to look in some of our data sources and understand which upgrade paths might be available to them. This can be quite complex in certain organizations where there's prerequisite membership grades that people need to go through. But we can manage that process through our data sources. And then once they're happy and they want to upgrade their membership, we can say, yep, I'm ready to upgrade. And that's then going to process that within CRM, and it's going to create that record for the upgrade within CRM. I'm going to wrap this up in a second, but I just want to go over to our use case. We can see it's all set and that membership's been upgraded. And I just want to go back a couple of steps to where somebody wanted to downgrade their membership, and we decided to flag this individual that they're at risk, so that we need to do a little bit of nurturing around them. So for this, we can then move over into Customer Insights, which is a tool you might have seen me demonstrate a little bit in the past. And this is going to allow us to automate some of these communication processes that are available. So if I go over to my journeys, which is where we can build out our automations. I built out a communication journey for my at-risk members. And what this journey does is, let me just give it a second to open, is it looks for contacts who have been flagged at risk. So there's a trigger in the system that as soon as this contact's been flagged at risk, we're going to put them in this communication journey. We're also going to do a split based on the grade. So if they're a student member, we're going to send them an email about their student benefits. And if they're a full member, we're going to send them a different one. And from here, without any interaction from a human yet, we're able to start processing a little bit of a nurturing campaign and to try and retain these individuals who are looking to downgrade or cancel their membership. And we can run that process through automation for a week, a month, however long we need to. And then we can even remove these individuals if they decide to, maybe they've upgraded or they started to use some of their membership benefits, then we can remove them from the at-risk segment. And then right at the end, if they still rid of that, we may want to create a risk for user within CRM and then be able to bring in that human in the loop right at the end for those really high touch and high valued interactions. I'm going to leave it there. I know there was quite whistle stop, was quite fast paced. We've still got a couple more chats to have after this. So Steve, I'll hand it back over to you.
Yeah, so it's a quick poll. If people would just like to comment back, it'd be interesting to see where people think the most focus is in their own organizations. So yeah, so there's quite a lot of focus around exactly the sort of box that Chris just showed and so on. But the point is that there's a wide spread of different applications that these tools can do, either as general, department by department, or a specific project. So what I'll do now is move on, just very quickly as a summary. So we asked before what sort of obstacles people felt were stopping them moving into a new digital transformation, new systems, new AI overlays, and so on. So the sort of things that we cover, our implementations of, like the work we did with the Fire Industry Association, we can generally get a lot of AI across a lot of departments between 15 days effort. So it can be very, very fast and very cost effective. And I've not really come across any other technology that's such clear, obvious, quick internal capacity understanding. People so that you can be as autonomous as you want to be, and call us in if you need us to come in, but you don't have to keep calling us in after we've implemented the systems if you don't want to. So what we do is we part of that is we make sure that the core technology platform is robust, and that's CRM, event systems, finance systems, whether there's integration or not, or whether we can get data from them. But the core platform and reliability and the ability to get the data is key. So everyone should be doing this most of the time anyway, but obviously we try and help where we need to augment AI, because it will be better if the data is better. But as I say, a lot of the assistance that we provide don't actually rely on the data out of your systems anyway. They're just productivity tools. I've shown you the downloadables, the assets that we've got on our website via the QR code. And Darren mentioned usage policy and governance as well. I can't stress how important it is to have some, but not too much. The more overbearing you make governance, the more you will achieve exactly what you're trying to avoid, which is driving AI usage underground, and then you've lost control. So you want people to use your tools because you then know that they're robust, you know that they're reliable, you know that they are ring fenced so that data shouldn't get out, and you want to make sure people are trained properly so they're not putting personally identifiable data within the AIs, even if they are secure. But that's really important. And some other of the collateral that you can download helps with mapping member journeys. So example use cases, surveying your staff to see what they think can be automated and so on. And that means you can get the low-hanging fruit fixed very quickly, which means that you get big productivity very quickly. So we've got a lot of tools that you can download to help you with that. And finally, it's collaboration. So in Darren's example, they asked for lots of good examples of use cases, and that's where they've started to focus their organization from the board downwards. So it's a very good example of how to do AI across a large and well-known organization. So we've got a few minutes left. If there are any questions, and I think we've already got some through from as part of the registration process. So
Sure.
if there are questions now, please post them. But if not, Alan, what have we got?
I think we've got time for literally one question, which has come through pre-webinar. And then, so all of this AI stuff looks marvelous. I can see the big benefits. It says, can Smart Impact help us if we're only using Smart Impact CRM and website, or can you help us whether we're using other people's tools as well? I'll put that to you, if you don't mind.
So on the AI side, it's independent of technology. So we can implement no matter what tools they're using as their database and data storage.
Right. Well, that was such a quick answer. I'm going to ask the next question. The next question is, the AI journey looks quite intimidating for a membership organization with lots of staff change and lots of concern and lots of ethical and policy changes. How do you suggest an organization get started? And again, Steve, I'll put that to you if you don't mind.
Well, the collateral we've got on the websites helps in that. There's a lot of preparatory and explanatory documents. But where we generally start is most organizations have tasked someone or someone's tasked themselves to start investigating AI, but you've obviously got to have board buy-in. So there's board education, a lot of that's needed. There's a lot of CEOs now are saying, we must have AI. You say, what do you want it for? They say, no, we must have it. And so I think it's very important to have useful use cases. And so we would discuss those and work out what are the most cost-effective and priority areas to go in. The ethics is a very big conversation, and as is staff fear, like any technology change. So we do quite a lot of focus around that area, but really it's about making people example. They had massive productivity gains, but they didn't have any more staff. They didn't have any less staff either. It's just made people more productive, and that's led to the member growth that I gave as the examples there.
Fantastic. So that's all the time we've got for Q&A. I think we've really got time to wrap now. So thank you, Steve.
Fine. Okay. So last few slides then. If you want the free resources I've mentioned, there again is the QR code to scan, so please do, and it'll ask you to give a little fill in a form, but you can then download the documents as you wish. If you want to talk to any of us for half an hour or more, then you can scan here and arrange dates with our AI experts. And finally, we've got a whole series of different events, and we run these once or twice a month. We've got a couple more in October, and then we'll be adding more right through till Christmas and beyond. And you can get to that by scanning that QR code as well. So please do register. We'd love to see you again. And the next session we're going to run one of our guests will be Bill, who's the CRM manager at the Chartered Insurance Institute. So that one will be covering a lot about sort of how to implement multiple different systems at one time as part of a big digital transformation. So hope to see you at the next one. Thanks very much for coming to this one. We're delighted we had over 100 delegates here, so that's great news, and I hope it was interesting. Thanks very much.
Thanks so much, everybody.